All right, YouTube, it's time for Libertarianism update. The VP slot will be filled by William Weld, former GOP, just like Gary Johnson. When he was the governor of New Mexico, he was in the GOP, but he was a little bit too, like, paleocon for them, I guess. Wanted to, he didn't give a fuck if gay people got married. He didn't give a fuck if people smoked pot. So the GOP didn't really like him for that. At the same time, the Democrats hated him because he's, like, more pro-gun than anybody within the GOP, essentially. Bill Weld was more of a, Trump-style conservative, I guess you could say. He was also in favor of an assault weapons ban before he had a change of heart, became a libertarian. The Libertarian Party welcomes people from other backgrounds that understand specifically why what they formerly believed in was wrong. That is, if they're a moralist, they're a theocrat, they're a statist, they think, power should be dispensed by federal government more and more. Even like states' rights paleocons, that's not libertarianism. A lot of people conflate the two. Libertarian platform includes essential things like, no, there shouldn't be a war on drugs. No, the government shouldn't be in the business of mandating who can fuck who if it's consensual, or how they can arrange their marriages if there's even a state marriage at all. Taxes should be a hell of a lot lower. We shouldn't be going overseas and fucking around all the time. The government definitely shouldn't be regulating firearms. It shouldn't be you can buy raw milk if you want, if you really feel like it. Those should all be perfectly allowed. They're constitutional. It's a hands-off issue. The government has no right to dictate one way or the other on such things. I welcome Bill Weld into the fold for his fundraising capabilities. The Libertarian Party this year is more geared up than it has been in the past. It's attracted more attention, number one, because its voting turnout last time around was so much higher. I mean, under Johnson, again, voter turnout was very high for the Libertarian Party. They cracked, in many states, it was 3 or 4% of the voting total. That's not insignificant. That may sound like a tiny number, but that's still millions of people. It's going to be a lot higher this time around. People who have been disaffected by the two parties that don't simply embrace Trump because he was outsider as far as funding goes, which is commendable. There's nothing wrong with that. Or, write in Bernie Sanders because they can't stand Hillary, but they're still a Democrat essentially at their core. They're too far left for Hillary. Now, a lot of these people, I think, will be wooed by the libertarian movement. I think it has enough in common with both the far right, the uncucked right, not the established, not like the Boehners and so forth. They're just a bunch of fucking neocons that are just like Hillary. But I think the more fringe elements of the left and right are closer to libertarianism on a lot of issues than they may realize. I think that the thing holding it back is primarily a lot of people still don't know the Libertarian Party exists. They've heard of libertarianism thanks to Ron Paul. They know what it essentially means, but they don't realize there's a dedicated Libertarian Party. I think tens of millions of people would vote for it, register right here and now if they realize there was an actual party representing it. And many of them will get to hear that message. I think going forward, cracking 5% in every state is certainly well within the realm of possibility. That would perhaps be a conservative, pardon the pun, estimate of the turnout. Cracking 10% in most of the states is probably doable as well, which means the Libertarian Party stays on all the ballots, gets into the debates potentially, and good things are ahead for the country. Now, for those within the Republican movement, specifically those that support Trump, establishment Republicans still think libertarianism is a form of anarchism or something, which is funny. That's what Boehner would probably term. That's what fucking Paul Ryan would term, or John McCain. It's these fucking hippie anarchists. They just want to smoke weed because they're retarded, honestly. The Trump fans keep telling me, well, if I vote for Gary Johnson, it's a vote for Hillary. That's funny because the Democrats, whenever I talk with them, keep telling me that a vote for a third party, specifically the Libertarian Party, is a vote for Trump. So who's right? Who am I actually voting for? In reality, a vote for the Libertarian Party is a vote for the Libertarian Party. I live in Vermont. I live in a state where in order for Trump to actually take the lead here and have a fighting chance of winning the state, he'd have to be up around 65% in national polling, because otherwise Vermont will be a Hillary win. It's about the furthest blue state you can get. My vote here, if I were to vote for Hillary, who will be almost certainly the Democratic nominee, it doesn't ultimately matter. She's going to win anyway. If I vote for Trump, it doesn't really matter. He's going to lose anyway. Well, because of the Electoral College, that vote means nothing at a larger level other than having been tallied in the first place. So it makes more sense if you're in a state that's so red or so blue that there's no possibility that the other person can possibly make inroads unless there's an absolute landslide, why not just vote your conscience? That's what I'm going to do. And anyway, if it were going to be such a Trump landslide that it looked like he would win Vermont, my vote wouldn't matter anyway because it'd be a foregone conclusion he'd win. So why should I settle for the lesser of two evils argument? That people have told me to do this election after election. It's like in 2012 when I voted for Ron Paul. So all the Republicans said, well, if you're not voting for Mitt Romney, it's a vote for Obama. But the point is, why fucking vote for Mitt Romney is the same thing. And the Democrats told me, oh, well, if you're not voting for Obama, it's a vote for Mitt the Twit. Again, I don't care. Honestly, it doesn't really make that big a difference to me whether Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump wins. I think Trump will do far better on the economy. But if Hillary Clinton wins, she's going to be a one-term disaster. It will fuck up our economy. It will probably lead to war. And she'll be back out of office anyway. She'll be a lame duck within the first couple of years. If Trump is elected, the economy will go along fine. People will slip back, as they often do, into a slumber, thinking things are being reformed. But he's already expressed an unwillingness to tackle the issue of the police state. He's expressed mostly an unwillingness to tackle the drug war. A lot of these big issues, people keep attacking political issues symptomatically. That is, they perceive a symptom within the economy, a symptom within culture. There's too much crime, or there are too many police shootings, or the economy is not growing fast enough. They diagnose the symptom, and then they vote based on the symptoms who they think will ameliorate the symptoms better. It's like mass migration. Mass migration across the southern border is a big issue. Trump says the way to deal with this symptom is to build a border wall. Hillary Clinton says the way to deal with this symptom is to simply grant unconditional amnesty to 10 million people. By the way, I don't agree with Hillary Clinton on this. I think the wall is just a fine idea. However, that's just the symptom. It's not, the problem doesn't go away because you build a wall. Walls are tunneled under. Walls are scaled. People go around walls. People smuggle themselves in by sea and by air. People will cross a different border if they can. It doesn't address the fundamental underlying problem, which is twofold. First, we have throttled legal immigration for no apparent reason. Things were just fine before we did this. Back in the Stimson-Mazzoli era, we had the chance to solve this problem permanently. It lacked everything except for the wall. Clinton and Bush came in, stymied legal immigration, fucked with the system, made it more and more expensive and bureaucratic. That's why people are illegally immigrating. That's what's facilitating illegal immigration. The reason why there are so many people trying to migrate in the first place is the drug war. It's as clear as I see the webcam in front of me now. I understand this, and I understand if the Republicans, if people who support Trump, who are nativistic, are so concerned with foreigners marching across the border, no amount of building walls is going to stop all of them. It will help. It will certainly help. It will slow it down to a trickle, but the problem will still be there. At some point, someone could blow a hole in the wall and 100,000 people could come across. What are you going to do? Mow them all down and end up with all the world powers facing you down and condemning you? That's just not something that even a nativistic politician is going to be willing to do. I understand it sounds very badass and hardcore to think about just laying waste to the invader and all that stuff, but it's just not going to happen. Trump's not an idiot. He would have to be an idiot to do such a thing. You have to address the cause of the disease, not just the symptoms. We can't continue to treat everything wrong in this country symptomatically. So often, what happens is the government proposes, give us more power, give us more money, we'll take care of the issue. They cover up the symptoms and some other disease emerges. It doesn't work anymore. So no, I'm not going to vote the lesser of two evils. I don't have any problem with Donald Trump whatsoever. I think it's genius the way he toasted everybody else in his party. I think it's genius the way he's waged his campaign. He's definitely amusing, and there are certainly a hell of a lot worse choices that you could have running this country. But I think libertarianism is better, so that's who I'm going to vote for. And it's not a vote for Hillary Clinton. Hillary's going to win this state. My vote, quite literally, unless it's tabulated in favor of one party or another, which gives it one additional digit of support. Otherwise, it does not matter. Hillary Clinton will win the state of Vermont. Now, if I was in Iowa or Michigan or Pennsylvania or New Hampshire, if I was in a swing state, I'd say yes, maybe you should vote tactically. Maybe you should vote pragmatically and choose the lesser of two evils. Maybe that's acceptable under that case. Maybe it's ethical and moral in support of your nation against a candidate who is even worse. Maybe you can make that argument. That's okay with me. I'm not in a swing state. I'm in one of the most partisan states in the United States. This is Hillary territory. Bernie Sanders is really, the only saving grace in my state is that so many of the Democratic partisans here are Bernie bros that when Bernie Sanders gets shafted and almost certainly does not end up a VP candidate and almost certainly refuses to fully support Hillary Clinton, just says, oh, well, yeah, the people have spoken, but I'm not outright going to endorse her, Hillary Clinton may slough off in this state. Maybe she won't win the state of Vermont. It'd be funny if people here chose to punish the DNC. Now, I'm not a Bernie supporter either. In fact, I think Bernie Sanders' views would be worse for the economy than Hillary Clinton's views. The neocons are better than the socialists, which is saying something because they're just fucking retarded too. But at the same time, if people here make it clear they're going to punish the DNC and 10, 20, 30% of the Democrats start voting for Trump out of malice, that might cause me to tactically vote. But right now, there's no reason for me to consider that. There's no reason for me to believe that Vermont, a heavily, heavily blue state, will go less than like 60-40 for Hillary Clinton. And that's going some. It's more likely to be like 65-35 or something like that. It's going to go heavily, heavily blue. You've got a better shot of Trump turning California red than turning the state of Vermont red. It's sad, but it's true. Deal with it. I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for. It's not a vote for Trump. It's not a vote for Hillary. It's a vote for Gary Johnson, who I think is the best candidate there. I think there are purists within the libertarian movement who are even closer to me on certain views. But I think a pragmatic libertarian with a VP slot filled by somebody capable of fundraising, who is coherently spoken, who is capable of rubbing elbows with a few insiders here and there, maybe wooing them over to the libertarian cause by making a coherent argument, I think that's a winning ticket. And McAfee pointed it out best just yesterday. Nobody is under any illusion that there's a significant chance the Libertarian Party is actually going to take the presidency. And even if they did, even if we took the presidency, it would barely matter. We wouldn't have any support in the Senate or the House. But what we're trying to do is get up to the totals we need to get libertarianism into the debate. It's important. We can't keep muddling on with a two-party system. Okay, let's say Trump is great. Let's say I support Trump. After he's gone, what happens then? The neocons take back over, and you're left with the same bullshit two-party system where a bunch of idiots like George W. and John McCain repeatedly rattle swords on behalf of their Zionist buddies, saying we need to go spend more blood overseas and send more money abroad. We need to fight more people that have nothing to do with us whatsoever, that just want to be left alone. By the way, we're going to pass a bunch of goofy-ass, expensive moral laws and continue spying on everyone. And the Democrats will slip back into their neoconservatism. And they'll say, we need more gun regulations, we need more taxes, we need more money for them programs over there so that we can lift somebody up out of poverty without actually helping them long term. So no, I'm not going to do that because the Republican Party, Trump may be the standard bearer right now of the GOP. That's great. Okay, Trump is way better than somebody like Cruz or Kasich. I fully agree with that shit. He's just fine. But it's not going to reform every goddamn Republican. A lot of them are still going to be neocons. Even if he goes through and puts up people he wants with the support of his backers and says, I want these candidates in Congress challenging the establishment because I want to kick the bums all out. I want you to vote. I want you to primary all these fools, get rid of them so that I can have a Congress with people I can actually deal with that have a grain of common sense in their head. That would be a great move, and he'd probably be successful, but even then, the neocons will creep right back in. They're really, really good at it. Who do you think corrupted Reagan? Who do you think got him to raise taxes? A bunch of fucking corporations and neocon Zionist bosses and people who leaned on feeble Reagan, who at the time was already beginning to show signs of dementia, in order to take the gaffer and say, oh, well, you know, it's for the benefit of the people. Keep this tax rate low. Screw those small businesses over there. And by the way, overthrow this regime over here so you can tarnish your legacy forever. That's what they did. So no, I have no confidence in the Republican Party as a whole. The fact that they're marginally better overall right now than people like Feinstein or Hillary Clinton or Sanders on the economy, that doesn't mean anything to me. These two parties have been in power collectively for 150 goddamn years. What have they fucking accomplished? Are we more united now? No. Are we more free now? Hell no. Are we more wealthy now? Kind of, maybe in some situations. Is there less crime? No. The Wild West was safer than today in most big cities. You got a higher chance of being gunned down in Chicago than you ever did in, buttfuck Kansas back in the cowboy days. So no, I'm not going to vote for the two parties at all. I don't give a fuck whether a bunch of Republican or Democrat partisans tell me it's a vote for the other side. I don't give a fuck. So there's my thoughts there. I'll be voting for Gary Johnson unless Vermont magically becomes a swing state. I don't see it happening, folks. Trump will do well. I still predict he's going to win. In fact, I think there's a better than 50-50 chance he wins in a landslide. Good. No more Clintons, no more Bushes. Still holds up. I have no problem with that. But if you think that he's going to magically fix every goddamn problem in this country, when he's going to face obstruction from most of the Republicans within the Senate and the House, you've got another thing coming. He will get half of his way at most, and that's through intensive negotiations. They will shut him down more effectively than they shut Obama down because they'll have the blessing of people like Feinstein and Pelosi and Reid to help them. So no, I'm going to vote for Gary Johnson. That's about all. Peace out.